Hi guys, this is Cindy Presgraves with Real Estate Divorce Single Parent. All right, so I changed actually the name of my podcast from Single Mom to Single Parent because I don't want to say, hey, you know what, only single moms are just single moms. No, there's also men, women, pride. There's so many. I mean, it could be single parent. It doesn't matter if what gender you are. It doesn't matter if you're an actual mom. You could be a foster. It doesn't matter. So I just want to make sure that this is general. Like anybody can listen to this podcast. You don't have to be just a single parent or you don't have to be in real estate. You don't have to be divorced. So one of the reasons that I'm actually doing this podcast, I've had a lot of questions about why did I start this podcast, especially as real estate divorce, a single mom, single parent, was because I have three passions, and that is one is real estate, the second is divorce, and I'm a single parent. So, I have a 5-year old and a 7-year old, and I'm crazy about my kids. They drive me crazy and nuts sometimes, and they come up with things that you're like, oh my gosh, are you serious? And sometimes I actually go ahead and integrate them into my real estate world. Divorce, yes, divorce is why the three mixes of all three of these uh I would say themes or subjects or different type of topics is because I'm passionate about that. I mean, I can talk to you about divorce. I can tell you, hey, you know what? There's so many things I can talk about in regards to divorce. I've been through divorce twice. Um, I can also tell you don't settle. I can also talk to you about real estate, which I actually like to say, hey, you know what? Real estate and relationships are kind of alike, similars. If we actually say, hey, you know what? You look at, let's say you get on dating apps, which I'm no longer part of dating apps, but in this case is if you compare real estate, you go through Zillow, you swipe pictures, or you go on my website, you swipe pictures, and then you go to a dating app. What do they have in common? They never look the same in person, right? Okay, so that's one of them. But okay, so let's start with the subject of real estate. So I've had also other questions of people asking me, how did I get in real estate? What did I do prior to this? You really want to know what I did prior real estate? I was a stay-at-home mom. What did I do for a living? I donated breast milk. Let's start with that. Okay, this might come to a shocker. Donated breast milk? Don't look. Back when I got laid off, so I was a director of sales and marketing for a hotel in North Dakota. Back in 2015, I got laid off in my third trimester. And I was devastated. I was completely devastated. I didn't know, like, that hotel was my world. I mean, I did not know what real friends were, what was actually having friends back then. And for me, it was like so, like, I would do anything for that hotel. But unfortunately, well, I would say unfortunately, you know what? You have to be in that position where you're actually are at. So in this case, I never thought I would be get laid off. I thought that my job was secure. Did I know I was going to get laid off? No. Did I knew that I was going to lose my job? No. Did I knew that anything in the future? No. So back when, and I still come back to this little by little, which is actually funny because I keep on remembering and replaying this in my head. Whenever I was 18, my mom told me, hey, you should go into real estate. I'm like, no, I don't want to go in real estate. I want to become a professional. Look, I spent so much money in student loans that I'm actually finally paying off my student loans. And I keep on looking at my geez, you know what? I spent 40, $50,000 in college. Okay, I know that's not a lot in the States, but I'm like, it's funny and interesting because sometimes we think that we are going to go ahead and become something totally different in this world. And every single aspect in life is what takes us to what we're supposed to be doing. And I'm actually passionate about real estate. I'm blessed that I'm in real estate because it actually gives me the flexibility. I am my own boss. You know, I work, I hustle. I basically love to educate people. I'm actually becoming an inspiration to people. I'm helping people, not only as a real estate agent, just because, when you get into real estate, people think, oh no, you know what? She's just a real estate agent. She's not going to be able to help me or anything. No, 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 no. That's not me. I want to be able to help anybody that I can help, because you know what, I love to giving back, and that's really important for me. If I can actually give advice, I will give advice. If I can educate you, it doesn't matter if you're going to buy a house from me or not right now, because I know it's just about building that relationship. So now, going back to when I was actually in 18, my mom told me, you should get into real estate. I'm like, yeah, whatever, I want to go double major in computer science and computer engineering. Okay, I did 3 years of it. Did I end up did I end up pursuing computer engineering, computer science? No, because I hated it. I mean, believe me, I remember I went to Polytechnic University in Puerto Rico, and oh gosh, the math and the frustration. I mean, and then the projects. I mean, it's like it was not for me. I couldn't see myself surrounded by computers my whole life. You know, okay, so this is something that I am going to probably regret saying on this podcast, but back when I had a job with CompUSA, so I've always been a good salesperson, and I've loved to always be creative, and it's hilarious. And my friends at CompUSA had always made fun of me because of the creativity I had. And, I'm not going to say what they used to say, but people will listen to me and they will believe me and they will trust me. And I've always developed that relationship, because that is the number one thing you have to do, especially with clients. You don't want to lie to them or anything. So, okay, so now I'm going to go back to CompUSA when I used to work as computer sales. So, um, so I was actually working with this client, and for some reason I thought there was a soft screen touch screen software. So, oh gosh, I can't believe I'm saying this. But anyways, you know what? I'm pretty smart, and sometimes I'm pretty silly, and sometimes I'm pretty creative. So this is like in 2005, 2006, back when things were not touchscreen yet. And it's hilarious because I came up to this guy and told him, no, 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 no. You know what? If you want to make the monitor touchscreen, all you have to do is there's a software that they sell, and you actually put this little cover on top of it, and voila, you make it touchscreen. If I would have patentized this and sold this to Microsoft and Apple, and I would have made a living. I would have made a fortune, but I didn't. It was just my creativity and being very, very creative back then. So that didn't happen. So I actually and I still keep on saying it's funny, it's hilarious, because it's actually something I did. And so I had a passion of computers, but my passion was more with dealing with clients, working with them. I mean, I grew up, my parents had different businesses. My whole family, had different businesses. And I remember when I was little, I kept on remembering, and this is going to be like my second book is going to be on this, on, my Latina roots, my Latin roots, how I grew up in my in the household. I from the age of 6 years old, my when we moved to Puerto Rico, well, from yeah, when we moved to Puerto Rico, I grew up in Texas. I was born in Texas, but my dad had his own business because of my grandfather. My grandfather told him part of business, whatever works they had, negotiations, whatever they had. And I basically, like, it was my thing of, helping people. And I remember this, my dad always told me, you always build a relationship with people, because that relationship is what's going to keep you in business. No matter what, they're always going to come to you. And I remember back then, I mean, Home Depot did not exist. Walmart was in the mix of coming to Puerto Rico. Um, we really didn't have this huge stores. And it was like, it was really interesting because these local businesses were competing, were trying to, do things that other businesses like the retail corporate America was not doing. And now I think about it, it's just like, right now, a lot of agents are like, hey, you know what, this is going to happen. Zillow's trying to take over, Realtor.com is trying to take over, all these big companies, knock, Mark Spain, what are we talking about? But it's about going back to basics. That's where the business is. This is where the relationship comes into. You don't lose the touch with your clients. And yes, I am getting a little bit out of the subject here, but it is how important it is to build a relationship with those clients. So when I was growing up, that is basically what my dad was. Um, I remember I would know they would know me, and I worked there till I was like probably till I was like 22, 23 years old, even though I had like, because I would always say, you know what, I want a real job because working with parents or family really doesn't always work like that. Just because, back then when I started when I was 6 years old, we were always, when I tell you I was always there, it was, I would go to school, then it was, I would do my homework at the office, or we were always in either in a vehicle, or we were in the office or my dad's job. Sometimes I would pick up the phone, he would tell me like, hey, you need to call these people. And it was interesting because back then while I was growing up, I didn't see it as an opportunity. But now that I'm an adult, I'm thinking about this and I'm like, I was actually being trained for customer service on building relationships since I was little. Did I ever take advantage of it? I did, because you know what? It was basically like building skills with people and how to communicate, how to build that relationship. So I grew up in that business. I remember when I was little, I think there was like some type of like a flexible PVC. It was something gray wrapped around syringe, like plastic syringe or plastic wrap, something. And I would help them carry their merchandise. My family had like a plumbing and electric supply business, and I would go ahead and help them uh with their merchandise, and I would take it to the car and all that, and I would get tipped. And I remember this guy, I helped them. And keep in mind it's plumbing and electric supply, and it's really thinking about all this. It's just like building relationships, talking to people. I mean, now we have all this social media going on, and it's like, are we, social media now is texting, but have we lost the touch with people? Are we like, hey, how you doing? Let's do a pop-up buy, or let me just go ahead and drop something by. Right? I mean, is there anything I can do for you? So it's like in real estate, as now I remember with my family, growing up with my family's business. And not only that, but I remember, so I also grew up in Peru. Like for the school summers, we went 3 months to Peru every year. Sometimes we would go 2 or 3 times a year, and to visit my grandmother, my mom's side of the family. And it was everything. Like I would kind of make fun of them because, okay, this is my ignorance, keep this in mind, because they would always like it, they're a little bit behind, but not say completely behind. Um, because sometimes they still use fax, and back then it was like fax, um, paper. They still use that carbon paper to make copies. They will like make receipts and all that. So not everything is like up to speed with technology, which is really interesting. But it is not about the technology advancement. If not, it's about the human touch, human relationships. So it is like, and that's actually something that we've lost completely. I mean, social, like, hey, you know what? Like Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp was down. And it's just like, I most likely communicate with people through social media. Yes. And sometimes now I'm starting to do like pop ups around, showing up into people's houses, leaving their little things. But what are you doing to actually build that relationship with your past clients? Not only that, past clients, um, future clients. I mean, are you building a pipeline? Are you actually following up with them? Because I actually talked a few months ago with this client, and he's he's like, you know what? I appreciate you giving me a call, picking up that phone and giving me a call. And I'm like, you're welcome. But are we doing that enough of that? Are we or not? You know, there's different things. So, I mean, well, growing up, I grew up through my whole life through customer service, and it was, thanks to my family, I would say, just because. So, my mom, I guess she saw something that I didn't see. I wanted to go to college, I wanted to finish college. I was actually the first one in my dad's family to have a college degree. So I have a master's degree. My mom has a bachelor's degree. She actually graduated from bachelor's degree like 8 years ago. And it took her a long time, but she actually accomplished that. So now going into real estate, I never really thought of going into real estate. I have to say I'm thankful and very grateful for my brother because my brother Carlos and my brother-in-law Brandon, because it was something that I never believed I was going to be able to do. It was something that I never thought I was going to be doing. And I have to also say thank you to my ex-husband John, because he was the one that pushed me. He was the one that believed in me. And regardless of how ex he is, I mean, he is still a good friend of mine, and he's the father of my kids. You might be like, oh my gosh, why are you talking about him that way? Because he is, I mean, regardless of what happened between us and all that, I mean, we're divorced, but he's always supported me in so many ways. And if it wasn't for him, my brother, and my brother-in-law, I would probably not be doing real estate right now. I wouldn't be talking about you guys through a podcast. And for me is believing, and so going back to, as I was, a director of sales and marketing, I got laid off. I basically donated breast milk. And why I donated breast milk? Because I was overproducing. That is a totally different world. Breast milk, oh my gosh, donation of breast milk. You can actually sell breast milk from $3 to $5. And this is to bodybuilders. Don't get me wrong. And you can sell it to moms. So there's this company in California called Prolacta. And the reason I actually donated that to them, because when I lived in North Dakota, I called so many places, and I think I called the Midwestern, and it was hard. It was hard to find a place that I could donate it. I produced like probably 2,000 to 2,500 ounces of milk on a monthly basis. This is surplus. This is like separately from whatever I actually went ahead and gave my baby Julian and baby Armando. And for me, I mean, it was a lot, but I wanted to help people. So yes, I could have sold it individually to, like, hey, these companies, for 3 to 5 individual people, but I didn't want my breast milk to go to some random people, that adults. I wanted to go to babies. I wanted to help people, uh, help other parents, like preemie babies and all that. So in my case, I made a lot of research. Or, like I said, there's this company called Prolact in California. Now they have a waiting list because they've gotten so big, but they have a lot of requirements. Like, they will ask you about if you've had tattoos, STDs. You need to do testing every 6 months. You need to, and you'll actually, they actually pay for shipping, which is awesome because shipping can cost a lot, especially for that amount of milk. You need to have a good freezer, and that was one of the things that actually kept me afloat for some time, because after I finished my unemployment, and don't get me wrong, it's not that I was just like, oh, you know what, I'm not looking for a job. I was so frustrated and so devastated during the time I was actually looking for a job. I mean, when I'm telling you, I would break down. I was breaking down. Like, I was so frustrated because back then we were so tight in money, and I was like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? You know what I mean? And I had two little ones. I mean, I went to college, I went to get a master's degree, and I couldn't find a job. I was to the point that I was actually applying anywhere, anywhere. And I remember that there was the opportunity that, hey, you know what? I came down to Georgia, and I was like, okay. And I applied as a marketing director for this roofing company, and I made it to the top three. And they're like, oh, you're a great candidate. And I even told them, look, I'm here in Georgia, but I didn't want to tell them I was in North Dakota because I mean, it was basically like some people would just doubt you if are you going to relocate? You're not on, you're not local. And that's one of the things that I was like, wow, what am I going to do? And in this case, I didn't get a job. I didn't find a job. And I was like, should I go to a job that would pay me $10, $12 an hour, but that wouldn't cover daycare. And back then we were actually having military has a special program. Can't remember what it's called, but they will actually help with daycare, which is awesome. But then again, it wouldn't be enough for to covering both. I mean, both kids. I mean, if not, they would cut it. If both parents works, it all depends. I mean, and it was like by the time I made the math, it was not even worth it for me to work because the same amount of money I was making in day as a parent, or as a full-time parent at $10, $12 an hour, and you're like, wait, $10, $12 an hour. Keep in mind, I was living in Minot, North Dakota. Back with over there, there's not that many jobs. I mean, there's only certain sectors, unless you're going to work on base, unless you're going to work on, oil field. So unless you're going to go to Bismarck or Fargo, and for me, marketing, I mean, it's just like, um, it was difficult. It was difficult back then. So I was like, um, yeah, for me, it was frustrating. Believe me, it was. I mean, I would break down every time I would not get a job. It'd be like that denial letter. Thank you for the opportunity. I even interviewed for Delta. Um, I went for Delta as a flight attendant. I interviewed I think I made it to their final interview. So there are so many companies that I can't. PepsiCo, I made it up to their final. I made it to the top three. I interviewed was with a vice president of the regional area for a regional sales manager position. I mean, I can say PepsiCo, Delta, Home Depot, all these companies, but I got denied. And now I think about every single one of them that I went through, and I was like, and I keep and remember back in 2017, my brother had told me for a long time, Cindy, go into real estate, go into real estate, go into real estate. All right, let's be real here. I'm a little bit of a headstrong person and I'm a little stubborn. You did not hear that coming from my mouth, though. I am a little bit of a headstrong and a little bit stubborn. I'm admitting that. Um, but in this case, I mean, now I realize and I sit back and I say, wow, you know what? I went through all this, and it was because every closed door that I went through my life, professionally, it was meant to take me where I am today. So, if it wasn't for that, I would have not been, I wouldn't be where I am today. I'm successful. I work my butt off. I have two amazing kids, but how I got there was because I had my ex-husband that supported me completely. He was my husband back then. My brother-in-law and my brother. Those three people, I remember I was actually so making notes and sending uh, these little envelopes and following up with people and all that, sending samples. So I used to sell. So check this out. This is amazing. It's amazing. I love this product from these company. It's called Perfectly Posh, and I still buy their products. Don't get me wrong, but I love their products. They sell soaps, hand lotions, and I always send out samples. You might be like, okay, samples, hand lotion, soaps, and all that. You're crazy, but that's what I was doing. I would do videos online, and my brother's like, why are you spending all your time doing that when you can actually be selling real estate, making more money? I'm like, but it's 100% commission. He's like, look at me. He's like, Cindy, what are you doing? And I kid you not. So I was actually doing pastry school by back then because I wanted to do a bakery. And my bakery was like, I was going to do healthy bakery. And I was going to, I loved it. I fell in love with baking and doing all these amazing goodies and healthy goodies. Yeah, not for me. I'm sorry. But I mean, I admire people that cook. I admire people that do baking, that have bakeries and all that. But look, I have two little kids. I can't do that. It's not that I can't. I mean, I could, but that was not in my heart. Me working 10, 15, 16 hours. I no, that I could not do that. I did my internship at Chateau Alon. I think it was 2017 when I did it. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. But back in 2017, a lot of things happened between 2017, 2018, 19, 20, 21. Most likely 2017, 2018 was the highlight of what actually happened in real estate for me. So in this case, my brother's like, no, Cindy, um, why don't you just take the course? So yes, money was an issue for me back then, and he's like, "No, no, just take the course. It's just fine." I think it was like $500, $700 on it. I'm like, "No, no, 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 just pay for it. Just pay for it." I'm like, "But I don't want to." He's like, "No, no, 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 just do it." I'm like, "No, but I don't want to." And it's funny because I ended up doing it. So, so this place. So I lived in Minot, North Dakota. So Minot, North Dakota is like an hour and a half from Bismarck, which I actually saw like, oh my gosh, that is so far away. Plus it was winter, which 9 months out of the year it's winter. So I think this is like February. I think January or February when we started the real estate the real estate course. And it was me and my brother-in-law. I mean, it wasn't for my brother-in-law taking me those 3 days to into a real estate course. I don't think I would have done it because I didn't want to do it. I would, like I said, I was poorly stubborn. I was completely stubborn back then. And I actually took the exam. So I passed the course. I'm gonna tell you flat. I'm gonna be transparent. I'm gonna be honestly transparent with you guys here. So I took the course. I wasn't really that interested, but yes, I was paying attention. But I was like so lost because my brother's like, "Oh no, 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 no! Look, I'm a pretty smart person. I love reading. I love doing other things, but that freaking, I mean, the hectares and the I mean, when it comes to land, oh my gosh, I was like so frustrating. But anyways, so I passed the course. I'm like, yes, the course test, yes, 70%. Woohoo! This is gonna be a walk in the park. Yeah. So I did the first time, like, okay, you know what? I need to study a little bit more. All right. Waited like I remember I was going somewhere that year. I think we were going, there's some type of travel I was doing. And I was like, I think I did it before that. And then before the summer, I'm like, hey, you know what? Then, I mean, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. Anyways, so I decided to wait a little bit longer. I didn't study. Then I kind of waited like for a year, almost to like I had to redo the whole paperwork. Lucky, I am so lucky because in North Dakota, it's like everything's so fast because I mean you can as long as you present it there and all that, then I mean it just takes a few days, which is pretty awesome, pretty cool. Not there's not a lot of agents up there, which is nice compared to Atlanta, but I made it happen. So I took my test, and this is going to be a shocker for you guys. So I took my test, and like I said, it's going to be a shocker, but I took my test 8 times. Yes, I did take my test 8 times, and it was like, wow, it's I don't know. I took it 8 times. I hustled. I did everything I could, and I was like, this is not gonna work for me. This is gonna work for me. Let's see what happens. I mean, every time I took that test, I was in tears. I was completely in tears. I was devastated. I was like, I can't do this anymore. It was a heartbreak. And it was hard for me because, I mean, taking the test over and over and over again, then when you see it, I mean, I kid you not, it was like I missed it by 1 point, by 1 point, okay? 1 point. But the good thing is I could just take it the next day, But in North Dakota, they don't give the test every day. They have like certain days that you can take it. So I took it 8 times. I passed the full test. I passed I think it was the national, or I passed the state exam first, and then I passed the national. So it was 3 hours, and I passed it on July 6th. So July 6, 2018. This is before my ex-husband got the notice of, well, my husband back then, that he was going to go to North Korea. So he did go to, sorry, not North Korea, South Korea. And my kids came in, so I'm a little bit distracted here. But I so my ex-husband told me, hey, you know what? Hey, I'm going to South Korea. I'm going for a year. I'm like, hey, we're gonna make this happen. Everything is gonna be fine. So I passed my test July 6, 2018. I'll never forget this. My ex-husband had left, well, my husband back then, he had left on July 2nd before my birthday again. 2018, he gets there. He's like, hey, do you want to stay in North Dakota or do you want to stay in Georgia? I said, I want to go to Georgia. I am not staying here in North Dakota. Plus, my brother's about to PCS. My brother's married to military too. My brother-in-law is military. Um, so I'm like, nope, I am going to Georgia. I basically moved from North Dakota to Georgia. He's like, you better have everything packed because I'm going to come in 2 more weeks and we're going to move you down there. Okay, perfect. So I moved to Georgia. Um, did I know anything about Georgia? Not really. I mean, I knew some of the places here, but did I knew anything about the Southern hospitality and how everything worked out here? No. Was I lost? Yeah. Did I have friends? No. But it was just like, so everything was like a learning experience for me. So that's how I got into real estate. I was because I was supposed to be helping my ex-husband, well, my husband back then, he was supposed to retire. And I mean, he actually has 1 year left to retire. And for me, it was like, you know what, I'm going to set everything up, build my business, build my clientele, work in real estate and, build everything that I had to. By the time he retired, then, he wouldn't have to worry about working and it would be me. And I've already built a name back then by then. But, it was, I mean, I would say everything happens for a reason. A lot of people say that it doesn't, but I guess we make our own choices in this case. And for me, it was most likely, building my business. And I built real estate in regards to, thanks to my husband and my brother, and my brother-in-law. I mean, it was basically just getting me through my blind self, I would say my stubbornness and say, hey, you got to do this, and everything led to real estate. And if it wasn't for real estate, I mean, I remember my son, my little one, Julian, he got hospitalized back 2019, July 2019. He had hand, foot, and mouth, and you'd be like, okay, he got hospitalized with hand, foot, and mouth. Look, it was pretty big, pretty bad. And we were, I think it was like 7 days in the hospital. And I thought about this, if I had a regular job and I was with my little one, I would have been fired already. Because I mean, sometimes you have sick days, you have kids that get sick, and I mean, with my kids missing school, I'm very anal about that because I don't like them missing school, especially like, oh, you know what, he's I'm sick. Look, if you're not a trainer, you don't like if it's something that you need to go to school, then you actually need to go to school. And sometimes they want to play hooky, which I don't allow that unless it's a trip, then that's a different story. But like, well, you guys are not going to school, and it was a half day. Then actually, just like, nah, we're not going to school. I mean, it's not. I'm not doing that because then I have to go pick them up at half a day. But that's how I got into real estate. It was thanks to my brother-in-law, my brother, and my husband back then, my ex-husband. So yeah, um, do I love it? I do. Now, divorce, why? So that's the first portion of the real estate side. Now, the second portion is the divorce. I've been through two divorces in my lifetime. Um, and now when I talk about divorce isn't easy. And it's not like not everybody wants to get divorced. And it's a struggle. So, it's not like you have to think about yourself. You have to see, like, whenever I talk to people about divorce, I'm not a marriage counselor, by the way, but I basically like ask people like, okay, what are you doing? What are the things that you need to do? How can you, is there anything salvageable? And I talk to people that are going through breakups, how can you make this better? How can are you going through marriage counseling? Are you, did you know that even if you're in a relationship and you're not married, you can actually go through counseling as a couple because it's something potential for marriage. You guys are, it's like, I have a friend that the person has been in a relationship or was in a relationship for 7 years, and I'm changing a little bit of the dynamics of things just because it's, yeah. So this person was in a relationship for 7, 8, 9 years, and I asked the person, so did you ever go to counseling? No. So if you want to go back to that person, and don't get me wrong, yes, I mean, things, when things are broken, they're broken, but sometimes they can be fixed. And, some people say, no, that's recycle, or, that doesn't work. There's so many things. I mean, a divorce is so diverse and so broad that, I mean, we can talk about divorce in a healthy way, divorce, healthy, amicable. We can talk about divorce in a grudgy, crazy way too. Or we can talk about, what, both ties break up and, one goes one side, the other one goes the other side. But now when it comes into property and when it comes into, how are we talking about this? Is this something that can be salvageable? Is this something that you can work it out? Is this something that both parties wanted? Or is it something that you don't need to get divorced, but same time you guys need some time apart to get some time apart, work on each other, And I'm not saying, hey, I'm pro divorce completely, because I'm not. I am pro divorce to an extent, but I'm also, work on your marriage, work on your relationship completely before anything happens. You want to make sure that that actually is something that you both really want. I mean, in fact, I mean, it's just like, sometimes you see couples that they've been separated for 3, 4 years and they have completely gone through divorce, and they still love each other and they want to go back. Like, the other day I was in this business meeting in a restaurant, and all of a sudden I talked to this, uh talking about pineapples, and this agent heard me, and she was an agent, and she tells me, you know what, I have been married for 36 years, and 2 years later I'm dating my ex-husband. And I'm like, you know what, I I see hope there, because you guys want to work things out. And I mean, especially like, and that happens with couples, if you want to fix something, you want to work something, then, make it work. But there's also, yes, no, there's marriage count, like I said, there's marriage counseling. There's so many things. And that's why I like saying, hey, this is the divorce part of me. I love talking about divorce. I love talking about things about helping marriages. I mean, and you know what? And if not, how to make things amicable. There's so many things that you can make it amicable. You don't have to be nasty and crazy and rude about it. Don't hold a grudge. I know it's really hard about getting, having forgiveness with it too, but it's all gonna come down to, can you forgive? Can you help the whole situation or not? And that's one of the reasons I'm actually um pretty passionate about the divorce. On the single parenting part, it's because I'm a single mom, and it's okay. My came in, and my ex-husband's home, and this is last night, so it's a little bit crazy. So the kids are actually hiding underneath the bed, and my ex is like going underneath the bed with them, crawling around the house. Um, because they know that once I'm in my office, they can't, like, they know that what they're doing. So this is like hilarious. This is background noise. So now, me as a single parent, my ex lives in Japan. So I mean, don't. I'm married. I mean, I was married to military. He's military. He lives in Japan. We barely see him. I mean, it's a hard situation because I have to rely on parents. I mean, on babysitters, and I have to rely on my family that I don't have family here. And it's just like it's not the same. If I need some help, then I actually have to hop on a plane and go to Puerto Rico, be like, hey, can you watch the kids for a few days? I gotta do this. And or hey, can you guys fly over here? Because I don't have that support. And I know there's a lot of people out there that don't have the same support, that don't have support at all, but you can actually manage it. I mean, you find a good babysitter. Like right now, I have a really good babysitter that I can actually count on, and I'm really blessed. I have a really good friend that she's that we met in high school, and I have that my support family. I mean, they're not blood family, but I have people that support me in so many ways. I don't like taking advantage of it, don't get me wrong. And you know what? I most likely like to take my kids with me at all times to everywhere just because I enjoy my kids' company. And you know what? I mean, I want them to understand that mommy has a business. Mommy is a business owner. Mommy works hard. Mommy doesn't play around. And every Friday we go somewhere. Friday night with me and my kids is a movie night. I mean, lately we haven't had a movie night because I've been traveling, they've been traveling. Like this Friday we're heading out again. Um, and I think things will chill down next week when I come back from I have another flight, a travel again. And some of this is business. Some of it is personal, some of it is business, but I like to maintain my kids in everything I go. Like I like to let them know, like, mommy's doing this, mommy's doing that. What do you guys think about this? Even though they're 5 and 7 years old, I'm like, be kind. Kindness, you can conquer the whole world with kindness. And that's where I'm coming as a single mom part with my podcast. It's just like, and sometimes I don't, it's hard, especially being previously married to military, because the military world is completely different. Especially when you're outside of base, then it's not the same. You got civilians, you got military, and we got regular people here, but it's pretty different. And I'm saying, it's not about as a single mom, but it's also a single parent. You got to be proud of yourself. And I love integrating my kids into everything I do because they're my world, they're my accountability partners. And it's just like it's important for me to have them wake up early in the morning, like at 5:30 in the morning. And I love waking them up like really happy, and be like, hey, good morning. They love that. I haven't done that in 3 weeks because their dad's here. But they enjoy it. These are like memories that they're gonna have for the rest of their lives. And it's not about only creating memories, but also building habits. And that's what's important. Waking them up at 5:30 in the morning. Like my son told me yesterday, he's like, Mom, I hate your schedule. I'm like, excuse me? Excuse me? You're telling me that? You're telling me that you hate my schedule? Oh no, we're not going there. Mommy's gonna wake you up at 5:30 in the morning. But then again, I have to do karate with them at 5:30 in the afternoon, 5 o'clock, whatever time it is. And it's just like they give me and I give them. So I mean, it's so important building habits for them from the start, from the when little. Like I can't wait for them to start actually working out with my personal trainer, because I want them to build habits. I want them to grow with that. Like it's you start your day with gratitude, with working out, and you like the right mindset is the way to start every single day. A positive mindset. You're distressed, you're relaxed, you're like, okay, I took this out, let's move on. let's eat breakfast, or no, let's eat breakfast first and then let's work out. I mean, it all depends. Don't eat that much. So, but that's the whole single parent thing for me. This is how it's so important for me. It's like my kids sometimes have more of social life than I do. And it's saying that, teaching them the value and appreciation of being a single parent, that I'm there for them every single day and that they can count on me. And you know what? I use them as props. So, you know what? Even if you're a real estate agent and you're saying, hey, you know what? I can't work with this client, or this client doesn't like kids, they might be the best fit for you at all. Know your value, know your worth, and that is so, so important. It could be professional, it could be personal, it doesn't matter. It is about knowing your value, and that's what's more important in this whole thing. It's sometimes we forget about, like, oh no, it's I'm not I'm gonna go ahead and just um give up on a few things, but is that making you happy? No. But I would say that's why I have my podcast called Real Estate Divorce Single Parent. So this is Cindy Presgraves with Real Estate Divorce Single Parent, and I will see you guys next week. And thank you for having me. Have a beautiful day.